You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword.
And we're back with part 2 of our very special 50th episode.
I guess it means we can move into the film adaptation, the movie, if you will, the cinematic masterpiece that is Cats, the movie 2019.
The movie, I feel like, put Cats back on the map. It's the only reason why we saw the play, because the movie came out, Chelsea and I were like tweeting about it or something, joking about it, and my mom bought me tickets as a joke, kind of, for my birthday, but she actually bought me tickets.
Amazing.
So we went to go see it. And,
it was...
Yeah.
Oh, I think that was like one of the cooler things we did last year, but we did a lot of cool things last year.
Yeah,
but
I love going to see plays in general, but I feel like that never would have happened if the movie hadn't come out and we hadn't seen the previews for it.
Right. The previews became a meme and it was just like a thing and we couldn't stop talking about it. And yeah, and the rest is history. Here we are today talking about it. So obviously Cats, the musical, happened on West End and in Broadway, blah, blah, blah. And there are many adaptations of the play. One of which was supposed to come out of Steven Spielberg's studio, his animation studio called Amblimation. It was supposed to be like an animated adaptation of the musical to come out in the 90s, set in war-torn London, World War II. But the project was abandoned because the studio closed, and the studio actually only put out 3 films ever. One of them was American Tail, Fievel Goes West, which I loved as a kid. But they never made that movie, okay? But here's the thing.
How are they going to tie in World War II to Cats?
Okay, so they're probably going to tie it in because this came out in 39, right? Mm-hmm. Like the original book came out in 39, so T.S. Eliot was kind of writing in the world leading up to World War II. So I feel like it could have worked. But it doesn't matter. Steven Spielberg didn't make that film. He does come back later, though, because he produced the 2019 version, and I've got some tea on that later.
He should have just let it go.
He should have let it go. Outside of the 2019 version, there is a 1998 direct-to-video film that was released, directed by this guy named David Mallet. He's one of the most prominent music video directors in the 80s. Like, he truly worked with every single musician that was putting music out in the 80s. Queen, Blondie, Bowie, Joan Jett, The Stones, Def Leppard, Billy Idol, etc. Like literally everyone. And so they hired this guy to make the 1998 direct-to-video version of Cats.
Which, by the way, my family owns on DVD. I saw it when I was at my parents' house.
Yes. So this is actually a pretty famous version. I feel like if you haven't seen the 2019 version of Cats, you've probably seen pictures or clips or something, GIFs from the 1998 version. It looks dated, the pictures, but you can kind of get an idea of like what the costumes looked like back then. Yeah, I have written here, I feel like most Broadway or theater nerds have at one point watched this version of Cats, which explains why you have this version at home somewhere.
Yeah. I almost feel like it just looks like they filmed the stage of the play. It's not like
it's exactly what they did. You know? It's exactly what they did. So they filmed a performance of the play in a basically empty auditorium. Andrew Lloyd Webber oversaw the orchestration for the film, and they used Gillian Lynn, the original choreographer, to kind of teach the choreography to the cast. And it was a recreation of the stage musical, but with significant cuts. The play runs anywhere from like 2 hours and 40 minutes to 3 hours, depending on what's going on. The film was under 2 hours. Some of the things that they cut was Growl Tiger's Last Stand, the Jellicle, parts of the Jellicle Ball, Old Grumble Cat, Mr. Mistopheles, McCavity the Mystery Cat, and Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer. They were all cut.
Okay, I can almost take all of those, except how could they cut Mr. Mistopheles? He's
blasphemy.
He's important to the plot. He's the magician. His number is like he comes down from the ceiling on like a I don't even know what it is, like a swing.
The best laser light show was in Mr. Mistopheles, and
he does actual magic on the stage because he does like a magic trick where all the cats disappear. We were like, what? We maybe have had a couple of glasses of wine also while we were watching the play, but
he was doing magic on the stage, and Grace and I were shrieking. We were like, they got us. He got us good. But they took it out in the 1998 version, okay? I can't tell you why, but they did. So it ran under 2 hours, which is interesting. They filmed in an empty version of the Adelphi Theatre in London in 1997. The cast was from various past and current running versions of the play all across the world. Initially, it was only released to VHS, but you can now buy it on DVD and Blu-ray, and sometimes you can actually watch it on television on PBS, BBC, or Ovation. So if you're interested, check your local listings. You could probably watch it sometime. TiVo it, I don't know.
Message me, I'll mail you the DVD. You have to send it back.
So this brings us to the year of our Lord, 2019. And I mean, in some ways, I really do wish it was still 2019 when all we had to worry about was the craziness that was the Cats release, honestly.
Times were simpler then.
They were definitely simpler.
I mean, not really. Shit was still going on, but there wasn't a pandemic going around, so.
It's true. The pandemic was not happening. So that's one of the major things we're all living through right now. Cats 2019, the musical, was directed by Tom Hooper, and you may know him from his other films. Better films? Probably. He's most well known for The King's Speech, Les Mis, and The Danish Girl. So this guy's a big deal. He has 24 Oscar nominations and 8 Oscar wins, 28 BAFTA nominations with 11 wins, and 15 Golden Globe nominations with 4 wins. His film do. So this guy, he makes some pretty good movies. So they're like, he did so well with Les Mis, the other Andrew Lloyd Webber film. Let's just give him Cats. Let's do it. They went all in on it. Someone somewhere thought it was a good idea to greenlight this, because I don't know who it was, but there was someone somewhere in a boardroom that was like, let's do it now.
And they thought, and that he agreed to do it, because he has
and
to
they
know
thought
Cats
2019 was the right year. I just don't understand
it. He believed in it. I've seen interviews with him and the rest of the cast. Like, they thought they were doing something.
I feel like Universal had a gun to their head. Okay, that's what I think.
This Illuminati, maybe.
I'm not saying it. She's not saying it, but someone's saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Was Cats an omen for what we were to expect in 2020? Who knows? But honestly, I feel like it was after Cats release that the entire world started crumbling in on itself at a faster rate than it already had been. Let's be real.
It's worth exploring. I mean, it could be the start of everything.
I know. So Cats as a piece of work is important for a lot of reasons, one of which is its ensemble cast. It's really popular because there's so many different types of performers singing so many different types of songs, as Grace has previously mentioned. And to name a few of the important players in the 2019 adaptation, I'm going to let you know. We got Judi Dench as Old Deuteronomy. Originally, this role is played by a male actor on stage, but they gender bent it for Judi Dench, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Idris Elba as McCavity the Mystery Cat. Oh my God.
Which, by the way, McCavity has 0 lines in the play.
Yeah.
He's barely in the play, because his whole thing is you don't see him. So during his dance number, he runs across the back of the stage and the other cats are singing about him. So I was like, how is Idris Elba playing a cat who has no lines? They have to give him lines, and they did. And it just...
And
do you talk about McCavity?
I do a little bit. We can talk a little bit more about that. Jennifer Hudson played Grisabella the Glamour Cat. Rebel Wilson. Yeah.
They pick these young, beautiful women to play this supposedly old pariah. I don't get it.
Yeah. Rebel Wilson
Not just
plays
old ugly specifically. Anyway.
Yes. Sorry. No, you're right. You're right. It's very strange. And I think they're trying to, again, it touches on that idea of the sex appeal of this musical. Why are we trying to sexualize what is supposed to be literal cats? They make it very clear in what I'm going to talk about that they wanted this to feel like real cats, not humans as cats, not humans inspired by cats, but real cats. So why are we sexualizing them? Why do all the cats have boobs? Why do we see bulges? And it's just very strange. And why do we cast all these really sexy actors and actresses to play cats? I don't get it. Anyway, Rebel Wilson plays Jenny Anydots. James Corden is Bustopher Jones. Jason Derulo is Rum Tum Tugger. Derulo, sorry.
That's the Playboy cat, by the way. In case you forgot.
Sir Ian McKellen is Gus Asparagus, the theater cut. And Taylor Swift is Bombalurina. I always pronounce her name wrong. Bombalurina, I guess is how you would say it.
Bombalurina.
Yeah. So what's the actual plot? Grace gave us the plot of the play. And it's essentially the exact same thing that happens in the movie, with the exception of a new character, Victoria. So they wrote this character, Victoria, for the play. And Victoria is a beautiful young white cat abandoned in the streets of London by her owner in the middle of the night. The alley cats all come out. They witness that she's getting abandoned, and they show up and they're like, hey, let me introduce myself. I am a Jellicle Cat. We are a Jellicle Cat. And Victoria's like, huh? Just like the audience is like, huh? And then the movie continues in that vein, and all the cats introduce themselves. Literally, that's what it's about.
You forgot to mention that when they drop Victoria off and they're all talking to her, they're like in her face, like, hey, Victoria, we're the Jellicle Cats. And they're like giving her eyes. And
there's this other cat, I forget his name in the movie, but he like is her guide through the streets of London, and he's constantly coming back.
Oh, I forget his name. He's in the play too, though.
He is,
he's like the main, or the guide, the host, if you will, it almost seems like.
Yeah. But let's get right into it. How did this movie even happen? Development started in 2013 when Andrew Lloyd Webber kind of teased with the press that Universal bought the film rights to Cats many years ago, but that they were now actively putting together a project and moving it into development. So that was in 2019. Andrew Lloyd Webber's like, let's just casually
2013.
Oh, sorry, 2013. In 2016, it was confirmed that the movie was happening, and it confirmed that Tom Hooper was going to direct the film. And they were considering Suki Waterhouse as the star to play the white cat, Victoria. By 2018, Hooper and Working Title, which was one of the other production companies, were looking into the technical aspect of whether the film should be entirely live action or entirely CGI, or a mix of both. And that same year, Lloyd Webber announced that he was working with Taylor Swift to write a new song for the movie version of the musical. And in 2019, that song was released. Him and Taylor Swift released it. It's called Beautiful Ghost.
Oh my God. I can't even start with this song.
It's
bad. And it does not, like, you think memory doesn't fit in. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And they play it in too much of the movie.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even, Beautiful Ghost, like, it doesn't even fit in. It's not about cats.
No.
It's not about
Andrew was off his rocker, I think, when he wrote this. And honestly, it's because I think we're going to talk a little bit about why they had to have this original song. And I think it's because it was Taylor Swift, which we'll talk a little bit about in just a second. Okay. It was originally rumored that Anne Hathaway and Hugh Jackman were going to star in the film. They had both previously worked with Hooper on Les Mis, super successful. A lot of people don't like Anne Hathaway or Hugh Jackman's performances in Les Mis, the movie. And to them, I say, fuck you, because I love them. I think they're amazing. It's an iconic partnership between Hooper, Hathaway, and Jackman. But both turned their roles down, and I wonder why. Maybe because they were like, Cats is just fucking nuts.
Well, also, they're not dancers.
No, you have to be dancers.
Yeah.
But I mean,
for the role, because if she's Victoria.
Right. They use a lot of Royal Ballet and like New York Ballet people in the movie. But there are people in the movie that are not dancers. Like
Rebel Wilson and
James Corden. I mean, Jason Derulo is not really a dancer either.
He's a dancer.
He's a dancer. He's not a ballet.
Yeah.
Right.
But
which is fine. They can obviously...
Tugger doesn't
I know.
do ballet.
Right. And I mean, Ian McKellen is not dancing. Judi Dench is not dancing. It's different. It was whatever. Anyway, so they both turned down the role. And apparently, Taylor Swift had originally screen tested for the role of Eponine in Les Mis, but she didn't get the part. So Hooper gave her the role of Bumblearina in Cats without her even auditioning. And I think they were like, hey, you can also write a song. And so she was like, fine. But the thing is like Taylor never really promoted the movie to her fans. She has an army of fans, literally. She can say something and they will literally drop everything they're doing and do something for her. Mm-hmm. She didn't really promote the movie. And I think it's because she was a little salty that her song wasn't really that important. She didn't get to perform her song in the movie. Her version of the song played over the credits. And also, she was probably a little salty that she didn't get to be in Les Mis and that she kind of only got the secondary role in this really strange movie about cats. Although Taylor is known to be like a cat person, like in her personal life. I just think that there's something going on there through my research. She was probably a little salty.
They did push Taylor Swift in Cats a lot, though, in the previews. I feel like she was one of the main pulls, even though her character is not that big.
It's not big at all. And she's
basically like McCavity's assistant. She introduces him. And she does have a dance, but...
She does. I didn't think she did well in the movie at all, to be honest, but I'm also not a Taylor Swift fan, so.
Yeah, I mean, she was fine. She was just as good as the rest of them, I guess. No, actually, I thought Rebel Wilson did a good job.
I do too. And people didn't like Rebel Wilson's, but I was like, this movie is so absurd, and Rebel Wilson's performance was so absurd.
I mean, yes, her dance is extremely, what's the word? It makes you very uncomfortable. She's eating cockroaches that are really humans. Her song, but that's the song, okay? So she had to work with it. But she has good timing. She has good jokes throughout the movie. She brings like an element of comedy, not taking it too seriously. I felt like she probably was the best person cast in the movie.
Her I feel like performance felt on note with the rest of the film, whereas everybody else was taking it so seriously to the point where I was like, am I high? Is something weird happening here? Because she fits. Everybody else is like this like really dramatic film, and I'm like, there's nothing really happening, guys. So we can all relax a little.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I feel like she was. I enjoyed her performance the most.
Right. One of the most surprising castings, in my personal opinion, was Judi Dench. Judi was casted as Old Deuteronomy, and like I said before, it was originally written as a male character, and she was the first ever woman to play Old Deuteronomy. They changed it to female so that Judi Dench specifically could play the role. But why was it so important for Judi Dench to be in this film? Like Grace said, she was supposed to play Grisabella in the original like launch of the play on West End, but she tore her Achilles tendon. Yeah. Oof. And Judi was very vocal about how her playing Katz in the Old Deuteronomy in the movie was like a homecoming for her. It was like she finally got to be in the play, in the show that she was always meant to be in. And honestly, I was like, Judi, I feel like you've been in so many better things. Like the fact that you have been waiting your whole career to play a cat in Cats, the musical. I'm like, hun, okay, here's the thing. She never even saw the film. Ever.
She shouldn't watch it because there's one point at the end of the movie where she looks straight at the camera. She's looking in your eyes, and she does it. The ending song where it's talking about how to address a cat. She does it for like 10 different times. It's so unnerving. That almost never happens in movies where they look directly into the camera and address you. She addresses the audience. She's like, "Thanks for coming to watch this movie." Like it's crazy.
It's weird. Okay, I'm going to read a little quote from Judi Dench, who did not watch the film. Quote, "I didn't read anything about the response to it, nor have I seen it," Dench said. "I've only seen a picture of myself. I once had a cat who looked like that, called Carpet, and I didn't realize I was playing Carpet. I thought I was playing a kind of, mangier cat who didn't have much fur. I didn't realize I was this wonderful show cat." But then in another interview, she said, "The cloak I was made to wear, like 5 foxes fucking on my back."
Judi Dench is so unbothered. I love her energy.
I know. Because we walked out of the theater and we were like, they did her dirty.
I also want to mention there is a part in Cats where Judi Dench is laying in a cat bed and she sticks her leg, like straight up in the air and like stretches it. She's like, meow! Yeah, she meows. It's terrible. That had to be CGI. I mean, no offense to Judi Dench, but that's like a lot of flexibility to stick your foot.
I can't even do that, okay? And I've been stretching.
She's a dancer, though, so who knows? But
yeah, Okay. Principal photography began on December 12th, 2019 and wrapped on April 2nd. December 12th, 2018 and wrapped on April 2nd, 2019. Before any filming or any choreography or any vocal work could be done, the cat was forced to attend none other than cat school. What is cat school, you ask? I read an incredible article about cat school, and you can Google it if you want, but I'm going to summarize it a little bit. It was on Vulture, and the title is, "How do you teach a bunch of dancers and movie stars to act like cats? Welcome to the Cats Cat School," by Jackson McHenry. So the cat school had an instructor. Her name is Sarah Dowling, and her job was to oversee cat school. And she spent approximately 5 months studying the movements and behaviors of cats before setting up a system where she would coach the entire Cats cast on cats' behavior. Director Tom Hooper told her he wanted the feline nature of the characters to be a thread throughout the movie, even when they were singing or dancing or speaking. And it really needed to reinforce that these people are actually cats so that they could build the vocal coaching and the choreography around that training. So Sarah started with the basic anatomy and behavior, and she kind of taught through videos and lectures. So she literally would like work with the actors, get them all in a room, and they would...
Idris Elba did this? I don't know. I don't believe that.
Idris Elba did this. She'd have the actors play as cats and instruct them from there. They learned how to creep along on all fours, sniff each other, how to say hello, bump noses, nuzzle each other's necks, etc. And apparently, Ian McKellen was really into this part of the process. He was obsessed with it. He loved how you could use your nose and your ears to indicate like that you were acting like a cat. He was really into it.
I believe that. I feel like out of all the cats in the movie, he committed the most to being a cat. There is a scene where Ian McKellen is lapping up milk from a bowl. No other cats do that. He is like, when it was
this.
It was
can't
like
see,
super
but if
zoomed
you're
in
watching.
on it. I didn't know what was happening. I was like, what is this? Then it zoomed out and I was like, what is happening? Oh, it was so bizarre.
It's bizarre. It's really bizarre.
He's a method actor, I guess.
He is. So Sarah Dowling, the cat instructor, apparently worked with the actress who played Victoria for 6 weeks in cat school. 6 weeks. Sarah and the director actually went to Judi Dench's house to teach her cat school. Judi Dench was the only one who didn't show up to physical cat school, but they went to her house. No, if I was Judi Dench, I wouldn't.
First of all, Judi Dench's character as a cat is like the least cat-like of all of them, other than the CGI.
She's wearing a jacket. Yeah.
She's wearing like a fur coat, and she has her human hands. She's wearing like rings and stuff.
Well, we're going to talk about that. So like I said, she went to Judi Dench's house to teach her cat school, but apparently Taylor Swift knew more about cats than Sarah did because Taylor Swift is obsessed with cats. I had no idea. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. Whatever.
She has Scottish folds.
Yeah, so...
If you know what that is.
One thing that I found hilarious was that Sarah was supposed to teach everyone in cat school how to move as quickly as possible on 4 legs. They wanted most of the film for the actors to be on 4 legs, like cats. But then the production team realized the actors and dancers couldn't actually move fast enough on 4 legs to make some of the scenes work. So they had to adjust to allow for 2-legged scenes.
Thank God. There is some parts where they're on 4 legs, and it's extremely...
It's
just not right. It's
unhinged.
It's not natural.
It's unhinged. And this is a quote from the Vulture article. Quote, as Jason Derulo put it, we're not just regular cats, we're cat people. I hated it. I hate it. Set design was done by a woman named Eve Stewart, who saw the original musical on West End in the 80s and loved it. And the set design is noted for its odd sizing, being hyper stylized, and richly colored. They built the sets on 5 sound stages in North London over the course of 14 weeks. Hooper wanted the cats to not look so overwhelmed by their surroundings, and eventually he and Stewart decided on a ratio of 2.5 to 1. So the cats would be 1, and then everything around them would be scaled 2.5 times bigger than them. And if you watch the film, every single detail kind of falls in line with that. The cats look roughly twice as large as any human. In turn, every fork, spoon, couch, piece of jewelry had to be specially made and in working order, including the 20-foot doors that they walked through. It's like walking into like an Alice in Wonderland set.
Yeah, you know? But I feel like it wasn't always consistent, though.
It wasn't. There were some things where...
Like the mouse trap was not...
Yeah, there is also like light fixtures that are cat-sized, not human-sized. It's very strange. So some things, but they also talked about how they ran out of money and they had to like reuse sets because or whatever. But I just thought that was funny.
Some of the sets are cool, like the bedroom set, where it's like this giant bed. That was cool, and the
all of that stuff
room
was real. They didn't CGI that stuff. They CGI'd the people, but not the sets. But yeah, it's just very strange. They set the whole movie in London's Soho neighborhood in the 30s as an homage to T.S. Eliot, because that's when he was writing it.
He's like, thanks, I hate it.
He's rolling in his fucking grave right now, okay? I'm like, I swear to God, if you know anything about T.S. Eliot, if he knew what was happening to this book of poems, he is rolling in his grave. Whatever. So you remember from a little earlier, I said that the director, Tom Hooper, was trying to decide if the film should be entirely live action, entirely CGI, or a mix of both. They decided on doing a mix. The sets are built and real, and the cats are all played by real humans, but they filmed the humans in bodysuits, which meant that it was a long and grueling process of making each human a cat with CGI. The VFX and CGI in Cats is probably the most talked about controversy outside of the film just being fucking weird, right? So Hooper worked with 2 VFX companies, The Mill and the MPC. So if you're familiar with...
Wait, they worked with The Mill?
Yes, they worked with them. Did you not know that?
I feel like maybe I didn't know that. Oh
so
my gosh.
The Mill and MPC are Technicolor subsidiaries, so Technicolor owns them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
And Mill Film is what worked on them. So the mill that is in our city did not work on Cats. Okay. But yeah. We work in entertainment, folks, if you didn't already know. And so we do work with the Mill, and we do work with the MPC as well. It's just funny to think of these companies working on Cats. It's just very strange. So the actors were filmed in motion capture suits with tracking dots on their costumes and their faces. And then the VFX artists would use this to kind of render them with digital fur using digital fur technology. They keep throwing that. They would throw that term around like in the months before the trailer was released. Groundbreaking digital fur technology. They did the same thing when Brave came out, and they were talking about how much technology they used to create her hair. It's supposed to be like groundbreaking, right? So then they would blend this digital fur with the actor's actual face. A lot of the VFX work was done at MPC Vancouver, which is known for being the company that put out Sonic the Hedgehog and also redoing Sonic the Hedgehog after they released the trailer, and everyone flipped out because his face was so strange.
It was like too human-like.
Right.
Which is the problem with Cats. Although I almost feel like Sonic did that on purpose. They like released it just to get people talking about it. And then I don't know.
I feel you there, but knowing how much money it costs to do any of that, and then also knowing like there has been a lot of backlash because I'm going to talk about it, but eventually MPC Vancouver closed down suddenly in December of 2019. So I'm going to talk about that. So
you know what? There was probably like one person who's been there forever. You know how these places are. It's like, no, we want it to be really realistic. And everyone's like, no, it looks kind of weird. And they're like, no, we need it to be like this. And then
we have people we know like that. So yeah. The whole VFX process was nuts. Truly nuts. Like these people were working crazy hours. And the film finished 8 hours before it was set to premiere in New York City. Tom Hooper pulled 48 hours straight working with the VFX artist to get this film to where it needed to be before it premiered in New York in December of 2019. It was finished 8 hours before the premiere. That is crazy and unheard of. Because for people who don't know how, making films work, you go through the whole pre-production process, you film everything, and then you go into post-production. Post-production consists of an editor taking all the film, cutting it into order, and then it gets sent to the post houses. And the post houses do everything from correcting the color, they add any of his VFX, they take out any logos that they see anywhere. Because Cats was heavily CGI and VFX, that was a majority of the process, right? Mm-hmm. That has to be screened and approved. And once it's approved, it needs to be quality checked. And the quality check is where you find any inconsistencies with audio, any inconsistencies with the visuals, if somebody left a water bottle in the background. And this process happens time and time again, like 20 times before the film actually makes it to theaters. This did not happen with Cats. They didn't get to do the quality check because it finished 8 hours before it had to premiere, okay? It's crazy. And so because they didn't get to do quality checking, guess what? A ton of the VFX and CGI was forgotten, didn't get finished, was left out, you name it. One of the biggest flubs was Dame Judi Dench's hands not being finished as her cat paws. In the earliest versions of the film, you can see her real human hands with her wedding ring.
But even the film that we watched, she has hands.
I will tell you why.
Because I feel like, didn't they pull the original?
Yes.
What they first, I never saw that. I wish I did.
Yes. So what they did is The studio went back and revised the VFX after it premiered in theaters, which is truly unheard of. Like, this does not happen because, like I said, it should be going through quality checking like 20 times at least, especially with these huge Hollywood movies. They build this into the schedules. Mm-hmm. And it also costs so much money to open a film up. When you lock a film, it's called locking the film when it's completely finished and you don't do any other picture changes. So the things you see on screen stay the same no matter what. The audio you hear does not change no matter what. It's called locked. Then you ship it out. To open that film back up, to reconnect it to all of the media, to have all of the hundreds and hundreds of artists that are working on one scene to kind of, start working on it again, I cannot imagine how much money they sunk in doing that. I'm imagining how much money it would cost me to open up my thesis film to have somebody re-edit it and re-export it. Thousands of dollars just for like a 7-minute film.
Yeah, no, I mean, this whole film was a financial
You cannot make this shit up. But Tom Hooper begged, okay? They did it. They put it back in revisions because at the request of Tom Hooper. He should have. At that point, I mean, honestly.
Because people are just going to hate it anyways. Just leave it and have it be like a bad film. Because whatever he redid was still terrible.
I know. So Universal announced that it was going to be revised. And then they sent, like out on like December 23rd or 24th or something like that, they sent out a revised digital package for the cinemas to download and use. Mm-hmm. And they urged the cinemas to use the new version. Well, guess what? Some of the cinemas didn't use it right away. And the old versions of the film were playing for longer than the new versions were. It's really interesting how that works. Because once you get a film in, to kind of get it set up in all your theaters is a lot of work if you've worked in a movie theater. And then they're getting sent a new DLC and they've got to use that one instead. And it's like they've already been showing this with no problem.
Wait, so do you think that we watched an old version with Judi Dench's hand?
We might have. I can't remember. When did we go see it?
We saw it was in January because it came out on like December 22nd or something.
Right.
So we were home for Christmas.
Right.
It was sometime in January. But I remember being like, we need to see it this weekend because
we don't know if it's going to be there.
Because it's probably going to leave soon. And I think it left like the week after. Mm-hmm. But when we saw it, the movie theater was packed. Everyone was there. And it was like, if you have ever seen like I could only compare it to like midnight showings of Rocky Horror Picture Show is what it felt like. Like the audience was in on it together. We were all there. We were all like reacting. People were singing out loud. Yeah, singing, laughing, shrieking, gasping as we did.
Yes. And the surround sound was so weird, Grace. Yeah. The surround sound was so weird. I literally thought people were sitting next to me talking about the film the whole time. It was Idris Elba acting on screen.
There's like one particular part where Mr. Mistopheles does like a dance and he like does a magic trick or something. And then you hear someone, we thought it was someone in the theater clapping and going, "Bravo, Mistopheles." And we both looked over, we were like, who the hell just said that? And then it was like Idris Elba on screen. But the way the surround sound was, we were also in the back row. But it was like, oh my God, it was so trippy.
It was trippy. It was really trippy.
So I feel like if you didn't see it in theaters, you missed out because you can watch on your TV, but it's not the same. But
it's not.
I feel like this is going to be a cult classic.
Yes. There's already tons of articles about how there's screenings happening where they're calling them like rowdy screenings or drunk screenings, and they get sold out. And you go and you get either like high or you drink a lot, whatever, depending on where you're living. And people are singing and just being really loud and rowdy, exactly like when you see Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, I hope it turns into that. I
think it will. I mean, at this point,
it already is, but I'm waiting for the music box to do it.
No, I feel like I read an article where it quoted like a person close to the source at Universal Pictures is saying that like now that they're trying to like make their money back by turning it into like a Rocky Horror Picture Show. So I think they're going to try and lean into that from a marketing standpoint because this film lost millions and millions of dollars. I will tell you how many millions. It's crazy. So I want to go back to the VFX. The VFX nightmares, like what's happening with Cats, with like it reopening the film and revising the VFX, are happening more often. We all know the Cats fiasco, right? But then after the trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog came out, the internet went wild, and so they reopened that film and completely redesigned the Sonic character. Something similar happened in the Rabbit movie.
Peter Rabbit?
Yeah, one of the Peter Rabbit movies. They like were working on the film up until the last possible second before it premiered. And it's because they're saying that like the burden falls on the shoulders of the VFX artists who have to work overtime. They can't unionize. Here's another thing. They can't unionize. Most VFX artists are not in a union. So they're working crazy overtime hours to correct for poor planning and decision making on the ends of like the earlier stages of the filmmaking process. There's not enough time built into the schedule. There's not enough money allotted to VFX. But most films are like relying more heavily on VFX and CGI than in the past. And so
they need to change their timeline of how they do things then and give more time for CGI.
Exactly. So MPC is one of the biggest VFX companies in the world, like in the world. And the Vancouver branch is what worked on Sonic and Cats. The Vancouver branch also worked on the recent, the fucking movie with Ryan Gosling, which is a remake from the 80s.
The Notebook?
No, exactly. There's somebody out there that's going to say, oh, God, I can't remember. I'll look it up. It also worked on Detective Pikachu, like a lot of like big CGI films. Mm-hmm. But the Vancouver branch suddenly closed in December in 2019 after the Cats premiere happened. And it caused a pretty big backlash in the VFX world. Like, I work closely with VFX artists like on a daily basis, and people were talking about it. Mm-hmm. On Reddit, like there's a subreddit for VFX artists. An ex-MPC employee posted this. I'm going to read it. It's pretty long, so bear with me, but it's really interesting. Quote, "We all put in extra hours wrapping 2 infamous projects in the last couple of months. We've done multiple weeks without a day off, regular 17-plus hour shifts to the point that most of us are seriously sleep deprived and are suffering still. We've worked really fucking hard to get this work out the door for MPC, and I'm genuinely ashamed they are happier prioritizing their profit margins and tax incentives over the insane talent and commitment of hundreds of dedicated VFX artists in Vancouver. I honestly feel insulted, like I've given MPC my all, and in return, they gave me the finger. Good luck to all the other insanely talented artists that MPC currently employs in other locations, because the second another location becomes more attractive, you could be next on the chopping block." And then they go on to clarify, "I didn't mean everyone was doing 17-plus hour days every day for weeks straight, but that we were working with no days off for weeks straight with plenty of 17-plus hour shifts thrown in the mix. Sometimes 3 or 4 in a row. Very rarely were people doing less than 10 hours a day. If you wanted to leave after your 8 hours, you had to ask permission to go home. Didn't want to work overtime on the weekend? You had to give a satisfactory reason as to why you couldn't do it, or they'd label it an unauthorized absence. I can't speak for everyone, but I am obliged with request because I felt if I didn't, I'd be quickly replaced by someone who is willing to do the hours, be there for the experience or IMDb credit or whatever. That happened to 2 or 3 people while I was there."
It's terrible.
I know.
But does not surprise me.
Not at all. I mean, I know how VFX artists kind of are treated. Like I said, there is no organizing for them, which is really sad. So there's not a lot of like workplace accountability where these jobs are just like, we need this out the door right now. And they're like, well, this is going to take me 17 hours. And like, well, you only have 16 hours. And so like, you just have to do it. You have to do it. And what are you going to do? Say no? You're working on Cats the musical for Tom Hooper and Universal Pictures. Like what? Yeah. You're working on Sonic the Hedgehog. So it's kind of interesting to think that MPC Vancouver was working on these films. And then they had these 2 major flubs. And then, Grace, we actually worked with somebody who left our company to work for MPC Vancouver. And I will tell you later who it is.
Ooh, interesting.
I don't think that they're obviously not there anymore because...
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. MPC Vancouver probably shut down. I wouldn't be surprised if they reopened under a new company name.
Who knows? I know that like all those artists are out of jobs. Or they were.
That happens though, like in
it does.
That industry specifically is like they close down so that they don't have to be responsible for any payments they might owe, and then they just open up under a new company name, essentially. We've had people who do that.
Right. And that's the tea, okay?
Good job, Cats. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Cats and Sonic assholes. Okay, so let's we're going to stay there, but we're going to go a little bit over here. The trailer for Cats was released in July of 2019, and it literally made the internet implode on itself. I remember the day that the Cats trailer came out. You and I watched it.
It was so funny. Like the tweets that people had.
I wish I could go back to July 2019 and relive the Cats memes. They were ingenious. They're so good. If you go back far enough on my Twitter, you will see a lot of retweeted Cats memes for the fun. And
this was just for the trailer, like the 2-minute trailer that came out.
Yeah. So a lot of people were unsettled when the trailer came out by the mix of CGI and live action. Unsettled is a very, kind word for
to put it lightly.
Exactly. And many people called it an example of the uncanny valley, which I think is interesting. Do you know what the uncanny valley is?
I feel like I do, but...
You probably do. The uncanny valley is a concept that was introduced by this guy named Masahiro Mori, who was a professor at the Tokyo Institute of Technology. Mori came up with this term to describe this phenomenon when robots appear human-like, they become more appealing, but only up to a point. Upon reaching a certain point, we kind of cross into the uncanny valley where our likeness for these, robots descends into a feeling of strangeness and a sense of unease and a tendency to be scared or freaked out. Like once you hit that level, you're like, something is really off about this.
Off. Yeah. Yeah. Cats definitely...
It just
lands in that territory.
Yeah. So then Cats was released in December of 2019, and it grossed $74.6 million worldwide against the production budget of $95 million.
That's
Woof. Bad. That's a calculated net loss of $11 million. It was projected to make anywhere from $15 to $20 million in the first weekend in the U.S. and Canada, and it only made $6.5 million.
You know another reason why it was probably so expensive to produce, because they're casting.
Right.
How much they had to pay those people.
How much you have to pay Taylor Swift, Jason Derulo, Judi Dench, Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Jennifer Hudson.
James Corden, almost every one of the major characters was a recognizable name. Are you going to talk about Victoria, the actress that played her?
A very little bit. There's a quote coming up here where we can, if you have something to say about Victoria, you can talk about it.
I was excited. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, okay, this is terrible. But then I watched it behind the scenes and I saw how much they were excited about it. And they talked about how Cats was kind of this huge musical in the Broadway world, and they wanted to bring it to the big screen. I was like, okay, I'm on board. And then
with you, following.
Yeah, I'm like, I get it. And then they showed Victoria, and she's the prima ballerina at
right. So the Royal Ballet. She's
in New York, I thought.
Oh, maybe it was the New York Ballet, but she's
But you
cannot come close to how talented this woman is in terms of her dancing.
An amazing dancer, but this is also her first shot in a movie.
Yeah.
And so I was excited to see her. She also is Black, so I was like, this is great. I want to see this person be the lead in a movie like this among all these A-list actors. So I was excited to see that, because there's not a lot of opportunities for ballet dancers to star in blockbuster Hollywood movies. So
right.
But she probably got paid the least out of
right, exactly.
Out of the rest
sadly.
Of the cast. Yeah.
Sadly.
But anyways, just the casting was interesting. But seeing her, I was excited. I was pulling for them.
I know. We were all hoping that maybe this would just be a weird absurdist film, and it was absurd. But was.
It's just so hard to. I need to give it a couple years and rewatch it again.
I know. We need to look back on it with a different lens, honestly.
Because you were saying, I feel like Rebel, everyone else is taking it so seriously, except for Rebel Wilson.
Right. I mean, James Corden does have that air as well, but
yeah,
Rebel does have more of that that energy where you're just kind of okay, we're buying into this, and then everything else happens. You're like, it's very strange. So we're gonna go into more of the critical reaction of the film, okay? And I didn't want to kind of summarize the critical reaction because I'm sure you can guess, but I want to read some specific quotes just to give you an idea of people's thoughts about the film. We're going to start with this guy named Peter DeBruge from Variety. Quote, Tom Hooper's outlandishly tacky interpretation seems destined to become one of those once-in-a-blue-moon embarrassments that mars the resumes of great actors. Poor Idris Elba, already scarred enough as the villainous Macavity, and trips up the careers of promising newcomers, like ballerina Francesca Hayward, whose wide-eyed, mouth-agape Victoria displays one expression the entire movie, which is true. Mm-hmm. Tom Hooper did them all dirty. So that's just I skimmed so many reviews. I'm just, little excerpts that I thought were really, really relevant. Okay, then we're going to go to Vanity Fair's Richard Lawson. Quote, the first line of this is hilarious. Quote, the real villain here is Hooper, who has conceptualized a movie that claims to honor its performers while smothering them in digital makeup. Why even bother hiring the elastic, fluid dancers if their bodies were going to be rendered so inhuman, or rather, so unnatural they're not supposed to be humans? After all, in doing so much to make the world of Cats something approaching credible, Hooper completely fails imagination, ignoring the disbelief happily suspended for decades by millions of fans of the stage musical. Nothing is accomplished by turning Cats into a garish CGI experiment, and just about everything is lost. The wacky texture of Weber's surreal creation is made too literal and thus forsaken. It's so dramatic.
Yeah, he put it very well. Okay, it's true though. The way they move is so weird. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like they move too fast, like faster than humans move. But
cats do. But why?
It's like, why hire these amazing ballet dancers and then CGI their bodies so that they don't, like, the way they move like aliens? It's so bizarre, but you can't quite put your finger on it. But okay, he's also saying that Andrew Lloyd Webber's, like, this is ruining Andrew Lloyd Webber's play. The play is freaking weird too, and it also doesn't make any sense. So it's like, what were you expecting? Actually, I feel like the movie is a good representation of what the play is, since we saw both of them within like a couple months of each other. And I wasn't like, this is made a monstrosity, the play. I was like, actually, this is about right for what the play is.
You're right. I think for me, the main difference between Andrew Lloyd Webber's play and the movie is the way the bodies are CGI'd. Because in the play, they're human bodies. They're wearing, basically like unitards, and they're dancing and gyrating and, doing ballet, but they look like human bodies.
Yeah.
Whereas something happens to the bodies in that computer generated version where they're like, they've got boobs, but cats don't have boobs.
Well, cats have nipples, but they have 8 of them, and there's no like breast
and they're
tissue.
Not, it's just, and it feels like the bodies are like elongated in a way.
The movie is very sexual. It is extremely sexual. The cats
and I think
want to have
that's
sex
where
with
the
each other. They want to have
disconnect
sex with you, the audience. They look you in the eyes and tell you they want to have sex with you. I'm telling you.
Yeah, guys, if you want to have sex with cats, don't tell us, but watch the movie Cats. It's for you.
Well, even furries don't like cats. Because, like, a bunch of people are like, this is for furries. And furries are like, no, the cats are too human-like.
Right.
I'm not going to get into that. But, like, who is this appealing to? No one.
No, it's very, very, very odd. Okay, I got a couple more. Marissa Martinelli from Slate. Quote, I suspect that Hooper's version of Cats will be met with the same amount of gleeful bafflement as the stage show, if the overblown horror over the movie's digital fur technology when the trailer was released in October is any indication. Hooper responded to the criticism by dialing back the fur so the characters look more human, and the movie is better off for it, though still a little unsettling. Just when you think you're reasonably settled into the uncanny valley, Idris Elba's coat comes off, and you're sucked even deeper into a void of horny confusion.
This is one of the scenes that I talk about the most when someone asks me about cats.
Yep.
So all the cats in Cats have, like, they have stripes, they have dots, they're like gray and white, calico, whatever. Cat colors. Idris Elba, his coat is dark brown, like the same color as his skin. There are dark brown cats, but it's very rare. It's not like a common cat color coat. But they chose to make Macavity this color. He's wearing a leather jacket throughout most of the film, so it's like not that big of a deal, whatever. During his dance, Taylor Swift introduces him. They pan the camera to him. He throws his leather jacket off. He looks like he is standing there completely butt naked, but his skin is made of velvet. That is what it looks like. And but obviously no junk, and he has a tail. And you might be thinking like, oh, Idris Elba naked. Like, why is that a problem? He's a very attractive man. I love Idris Elba, and I think he's very attractive.
Uncanny Valley.
There is something very weird about seeing him naked like that, and his butt, I mean, is like completely, like you see his butt crack.
Every nook and cranny of Idris Elba's body is in Cats the Musical, except it's covered in velvet.
And Idris Elba's so hot, but I would never, like, it was just terrible to watch. I don't know how to describe it. Chelsea and I gasped aloud when they panned over to him.
It was basically a scream.
Yeah.
That is one of the most vivid moments from the screening for me, is that moment.
Shocking.
Shocking. And I will not tell you when it happened, so go watch it and let me know if you also scream.
Oh, man. It's not right. It wasn't right what they did to him.
I know. I've got 2 more quotes here. This is from Britt Hayes at the AV Club. Your eyeballs are not ready for the horrors within the Cats trailer. That's what her article was called. I'm telling you, the article titles are amazing. This is her quote. Behold, a cinematic adaptation of one of the most dizzyingly atrocious musicals of all time. Tremble at the very famous people transformed via Cronenbergian VFX wizardry into animals of the feline persuasion. Bear witness to the horrors of the unnatural feline people as they sing and dance for your entertainment. Vomit not, for you surely cannot afford a new MacBook in this economy. Yes, dear reader, the time has come. The first trailer for Cats, directed by Tom Hooper, of all people, has arrived, boasting performances-ish from the well-paid actors such as Idris Elba, Dame Judi Dench, Taylor Swift, because of fucking course, Ian McKellen, James Corden, and Jennifer Hudson. This was a really good read, I just want to say. And then I want to end on this quote here. This is from the Washington Post. Travis M. Andrews and Sonia Rao. They posed 34 questions after watching the Cats trailer. I'm only going to read a couple of them that I thought were really funny. 1. Why do some cats have clothes and some cats don't have clothes?
It's the same in the play, though. Like I said, Crimbleshanks or whatever has pants for no reason.
Yeah. Why do the cats have human lips? This is the uncanny valley we're talking about. Why can the cats have human teeth, but Sonic the Hedgehog can't? This question was followed closely by, how are the Sonic the Hedgehog animators doing anyway?
Oh, they're unemployed.
They're unemployed as of 2019, sadly. Another one. Isn't it illegal for Jason Derulo to be in something without announcing his own name first?
Jason Derulo.
Jason Derulo. And then the last question. Is Idris Elba's involvement in the film consensual? We can't tell from this trailer.
I don't know what he thought of. And then people in the crossword and in like a New Yorker or New York Times article, they keep referring to him as Idris Elba from Cats, which I don't know. I don't know what these actors saw in the movie once they watched it at the premiere. Yeah. I mean, I would love to have been there.
I know. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the awards, because it did win a couple awards. For those who think it might not have won anything, it did. Okay, this is an award-winning film. Cats was nominated for 9 Razzies.
It should have won all of them.
It won 6 of them, including Worst Picture, Worst Director for Tom Hooper, Worst Supporting Actor and Actress for James Corden and Rebel Wilson, respectively.
No, Rebel Wilson, okay, she was the best in the movie.
And I'm not a Rebel Wilson fan at all, but I think she did the best. So then the other nominations were Worst Actress for Francesca Hayward. She was nominated for that, sadly.
Leave her alone.
I know.
Obviously, she's going to take this opportunity. Like, you can't blame her.
I know. Worst Supporting Actress for Judi Dench. Sorry, Judi. This was not your best performance. Although she was really happy that she was actually nominated for a Razzie. I think she said it was her first time. So, first for everything. I
love Judi Dench's energy and all this. She's like, I'll be in that fucking movie. I don't care. She doesn't even see it.
She's like, fuck it, I'll wear a coat with foxes. I don't give a shit. This was the funniest one for me, this nomination. Worst screen combo was Jason Derulo and his CGI neutered bulge. The Razzies are always a good time. And then it was also nominated for Best Original Song at the Golden Globes for Beautiful Ghost, Taylor Swift and Andrew Lloyd Webber. To which I say, fuck y'all, that's insane. No. This is why you can't trust award shows.
It's only because of the names that were attached to it.
Exactly. So,
I have to say that I feel like the play, I felt like all the cast in the play was incredibly talented. They did what they could, with what they had to work with.
Right.
I also feel like in the movie, Jason Derulo, I feel like I know him now because he's on TikTok, but it's so weird for him to be, like, it's such a departure from what he normally does to be in this movie, but I feel like he did a good job with what he had to do. He made this cat seem like a playboy. His dancing was good, and his singing was good. Like,
remember that time when he was doing the acapella in the background and you couldn't understand what was
I was like, is someone in the audience singing that? Chelsea like, no, it's Jason. You have to go. You have to see the movie. If this podcast has not convinced you to see the movie, then I don't know.
We don't know what to do for you. We don't know what to do for you. Every time I see Jason Derulo's TikToks pop up on my feed, which is actually pretty often because I like to harass him, I comment on his TikTok and ask him to do his TikToks in his cat suit. He has never responded, and I've got no likes on any of my comments, but I will continue this venture until the day I die.
Yeah. I actually feel like some actors did do a good job. I mean, whatever. It's like when you have Shailene Woodley was in Secret Life of American Teenager for years, and that show was absolutely terrible, and she was terrible in it, but then she went on to do like a bunch of other movies and is actually a good actress. You can only do so much with what you're given.
Right. And it comes down to sometimes the directing, honestly.
Yeah.
They want a certain type of performance, and that's what you're going to get, especially with Secret Life of American Teenager. I mean, and when you're doing Cats, like, it's completely absurd. Like, what else?
I feel like Cats, I don't know. I like the way it came out. I have no regrets because I feel like it's an experience. But I think if they really wanted it to make it like a musical movie, they needed to have written in more of a plot and just use the music from it, because the music is good. I mean, the songs are good, but
I don't think they definitely tried to tease out some of that absurdity, some of that like 80s glam rock vibe and like kind of this larger than life mega musical thing. And I'm like, okay, I understand why you'd want to do that. But the fact that the movie's about cats, singing about being cats, people as cats, that's all you need.
There's not a metaphor for anything.
You don't need to tease out the absurdity. The absurdity is inherent. If you'd literally just put all of these actors on a stage with each other and had them sing, I think that would have probably been better than the movie that we got.
I don't know. Except such a thing, though. The final number when they're all singing on that statue and they keep looking in the camera and the song is like 10 minutes long. I mean, that part's amazing. Like,
I know.
I feel like that in a movie.
I know. For you and me, though, this is exactly the kind of content and movie we like to see. We really like really weird. We love chaos. Anything that kind of disrupts the system is for us. But I'm talking about in terms of like an artistic, piece of work. This movie is not that. And I feel like
see Cats being a better animated movie. Steven Spielberg should have done that, like an Aristocats type situation.
Right, and I also think like you could just market it to kids at this point. I don't know. I don't know if this time is now for Cats the musical.
Well, it definitely wasn't. I mean, but you know what? It's what we got, and we just have to deal with it.
I'll drink to that.
Cheers to that. I'll drink to that. All right.
Who is your favorite cat? Let's end on that.
Mr. Mistopheles.
I would have to agree, if only because the Mr. Mistopheles that we saw live came out in a shimmering, light up pride tuxedo jacket. It changed my life, and I also love him on Instagram. So I'm just going to say it.
He graduated from high school.
I know.
And then joined the Cats touring company, and he is such a good dancer, and his song, the Mr. Mistopheles song, is like everyone was on their feet dancing, the lights,
clapping,
the magic. I mean, it was good. It was good.
It was good.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite cat in the movie. His character's okay. He's a little more like
he's shyer,
insecure,
which isn't really me. I kind of like the feeling himself a little bit more from the play.
Well, he weirdly saved the day in the movie because he brought Judi. Remember, Judi Dench disappeared, and then he brought her back to life.
Oh, magic. Right, they kidnapped her. Remember. Put her in the oh my god.
We never addressed this. So in the play, McCavity has no lines at all. And I was thinking, how's Idris Elba McCavity? He's barely in the play. Well, obviously they had to give him lines in the movie. So they wrote in this whole storyline where McCavity is the so-called villain, and he's trying to kidnap all the cats so that he's the one who gets to die at the very end of the movie. And
his plot is foiled by the other cats.
He's also magical. He has magic powers. he is able to, he like puts all the cats on a boat in a on a barge or something. I don't really know what happened, but then Mr. Mistopheles saved the day with his magic, and then I swear to God, Jennifer Hudson had no idea what was going on. They invited her to come in and sing Memory.
She was on set one day,
and then she like sang Memory. But okay, I love Jennifer Hudson. Obviously, she's an amazing singer. But her version of Memory, it was like at a different key. I don't know what it was.
I know, it didn't do it for me. I'm sorry.
I mean, like she sang it objectively well. Obviously.
Right, of course. She's very talented.
There was just something weird about it, off about it. It wasn't as good, I think, as other renditions of Memory. But she also was like crying and snotting the whole time, and it was zoomed in on her freaking cat face, and she was snot running down her
that's
face.
The thing is, Tom Hooper is known for like these extreme close-ups as a director, and it's like, okay, we don't need to see all of the snot running down Jennifer Hudson's weird, uncanny valley cat face. Can we just like zoom out like a little bit?
But I swear, she came in like one day, killed her song, and then was like, peace. And then she did a good job for what she had to do. Whatever, what these people were given with, they did a good job.
They did a good job.
Disparage any of them, but
anyways. Well, that's Cats, guys.
That's Cats for you.
This is a long episode. Let me just tell you that right now.
Yeah, it's going to be long. Well, thanks for sticking with us if you've come this far. Please follow us on Twitter at The Good Eve Girls.
Or Instagram at The Good Evening Girls.
Or TikTok at The Good Eve Girls.
Wherever you want.
Derulo while you're at it too.
Help us get him to wear his cat suit on TikTok. That would be incredible.
Join us. It's a movement. Thanks for sticking with us for 50 episodes.
And we love you guys. I cannot believe that this is happening. It's so cool.
Yeah. We'll be back
congrats to you, Grace Ella. We did it. 50 episodes.
Yeah, congrats to you. We stuck through it. We'll be back with more normal stuff at some point. I don't know.
I know.
We'll see. We're kind of playing it by ear, but yeah, I guess that's it. So
that's it.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening.
See you guys next episode.
Bye.
Bye.